Good day, subscribers. Today is part 4 of the 7-part series, How to Build a Robinhood Stock Trader in Python. In today's part, we're going to be combining the trade strat that we built in part 3 with the trader that we built in part 2. So let's jump in. In part 2 of the series, we built the frame of the trader to connect with Robinhood and give live price updates for the list of stocks that we developed. In part 3 of the series, we created a trading strategy to work with the prices and give buy, sell, or hold commands based on how the stock was doing. Now, in part 4, we're going to connect the trader from part 2 with the trading strategy from part 3. And this will allow us to get buy, sell, or hold commands for our defined list of stocks. Now let's fire up our favorite IDEs and jump right in. Alright, so here we are back on the desktop, and as you guys can see, I have my trusty IDE open, which I'm using Atom, and my CMD, which I'm going to use just to run the code. Over here in trader.py, we have import config and import trade strat. Trade strat is the trade strategy we made in the previous part, in part 3. We have our other libraries that we're importing, our login function, which brings us into the Robinhood platform, our logout function, which we use at the end, our get stocks function, which creates the list of stocks that we're going to be using, our open market function, which checks if the market is open, and as usual we have our market equal to true here, which is saying the market is always open. Since I'm recording this video after hours, I still want to be able to run the code and show you guys, so I just leave market equals true. It'll give us the same prices for all of the stocks at their closing price, but it'll still let us connect to the Robinhood platform, so I just leave that as true, but when you're actually running it, you'd want to leave that as false, so it only trades during trading hours. And then over here, we have the main meat of the program. For this file, which logs us in, gets our stocks, prints out our list of stocks, pulls in our trader, and then we have the while loop. While the market is open, we get the prices and we run through each stock. So now we're going to start working on integrating the trade strat that we built in part 3 with the trader that we built in part 2. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to add a couple of functions. So the first one we're going to add is going to be called get cash. And what get cash does is it's going to see how much money do we actually have that is able to be used to buy stocks in our Robinhood account. So if you log into your Robinhood account and you have $0, you can't buy any stocks because you don't have any money to buy stocks. So this function is going to go into our Robinhood account. So it's def get cash. It takes no attributes, and it's rh_cash equals rh.account.build user profile. So this is just going to pull in our user profile, and just to show you guys what that looks like, it's a little bit hectic, but just to show you, cash, cash. So that's going to print out what it looks like when we run it. It gets cash as a float, and it gets equity as a float, and then it just returns those two values. So this is going to come in as a dictionary with all these different values, and then we're just going to pull cash and equity. And so now let's go down into our trader, into the main meat, and let's do this. So right here, we're going to do, actually we'll do it right here. We're going to do cash and equity. And then this is going to run, and it's going to give us the whole thing, even though we're just pulling cash and equity as a return from the function. So here, let's run it, trader.py, and we're going to run it. And okay, so here's something interesting. So we get the stocks, we got RH cash, which shows equity, extended hours equity, cash, and dividend totals, and now we're getting this warning for one of the stocks in our list, HHT. So it says it's not a valid stock ticker, it is being ignored, and it's kind of giving us this ugly output I don't know if something's happened to that company since I last recorded or what, but we just have an easy fix. We're just going to go up here, comment that out. So now our stocks list just has INPX and CNET. We're going to clean this and we're going to rerun it. There we go. So nice clean output. And that's kind of just interesting so you guys can see some of the bugs that you get as you run this code. What I could do is just down here, I could add a try except kind of functionality in here, just so if the stock ticker is not valid, it just moves on to the next one. And that way I would never get an error like that. But that's kind of something that you guys can add as you go through the series. Those are little things that you can add to really personalize your own code. Okay, so now we see what RH cache gives, so I'm going to get rid of that there. And now we're going to add our second function, which is going to be get holdings and bot price. All right, so we have get holdings and bot price. So the first thing it does is it creates a dictionary of holdings and a dictionary of bot prices. And that's just going to be dictionaries consisting of the stocks as keys and then 0 as the values. Then it goes into RH holdings, which is rh.account.build holdings. That's going to get us, again, kind of something similar to RH cache. And then we do for stock in stock. So now we're going to walk through each of the stocks. Just a reminder, stocks is one of the attributes that you have to pass into this function. And then here we have a try and accept. Now the reason we have a try and accept is kind of the similar reason that we just saw in that failure. Sometimes you're going to reach in and you're not going to get a value back. In particular, if you don't own the stock. So if you own the stock, you'll have a bot price, right? So if you buy a certain stock at $10, that bot price will be $10. But if you don't own the stock yet, you won't have a bot price for that stock. And that would actually cause this part of the function to fail and it would kick us out of our loop. So to mitigate against that, what we do is we do a try and accept. In the try, we try to set holdings for the stock to be RH stock quantity, and bot price for the stock, we try to do RH holdings stock average buy price. So that's the average price that we bought it for. And if those values aren't there, which means we probably don't own the stock, or there's a little bug every once in a while as you're running through the loop, there'll be like a little bug that comes from the Robinhood platforms. But for the most part, if we don't own the stock, then we just have 0 holdings and the bot price is 0. And then we return that dictionary. So now let's go into, again, our main loop over here and do this. So now we're going to do holdings and bot price, and then we're going to print out our holdings. So I do own some INPX and I don't own any CNET, so what we should get is some number for INPX, I don't even remember what it is, and then 0 for CNET. So let's see if we get that. All right, and apparently I own 1 share of INPX and I own 0 of CNET. So perfect, it's pulling our stock profile, it's getting how many of INPX I own, how many of CNET I own, and an interesting note to make here is I also own some other stocks on this Robinhood account, meaning I can do some stocks that I trade just in person, so maybe I don't trust this program to work with stocks that are over a value of 100, but I own some of those stocks on my Robinhood platform. I can give this program only command over the particular stocks that I define up here in get stocks. So let's say I own INPX, I also might want to buy some CNET, and I own Tesla, which is a more expensive stock. If I don't give the program access to my Tesla stock, it won't be able to buy or sell that stock. So I can still have more expensive stocks and kind of run this program on stocks that aren't going to kill me if something goes wrong. So now we see how get holdings and bot price as well as get cash works in our program. And what this has really set us up for is, like I said, in this video we're going to be adding the trading strategy into our trader. So what we have now is we have a trader that knows how much cash you have and knows what your holdings are. So what stocks you're holding. So now in the next couple of parts, when we end up buying the stocks or selling the stocks, our program will know and have a record of when we had the stock so we can sell it, or if we don't have the stock and we would want to buy it. So now let's go in and kind of build those dummy buy and sell commands. So down here, so now we have for I and stock in enumerate stocks. So we get the price, we print out the price for the stock, and we get the trade, and we print out the trade. And so here we have INPX at $1.06, and that's a buy, and CNET at $1.42, that's also a buy. So what we'll do is first I'll pull the if buy. So we have if trade equals buy, a new variable, allowable holdings, is equal to int cash divided by 10 divided by price. Now what is this? So when I was designing this program, I wanted to be able to buy and sell stocks all throughout the day, which would have made me a day trader. Now if you want to look into day trading, that's something you can do research on, but basically if you're going to be a day trader, you have to have all of the cash in your account at that time. So if I had $1,000 in my account, I could only trade $1,000 a day. So I could buy $100 worth of stock, sell it, buy 100, sell it, buy 100, but I wouldn't receive that 100 back when I sold it immediately because I wasn't trading on margin anymore. I was just trading with cash. Again, if you want to look a little bit more into that, you totally can. And if you have any specific questions on it, feel free to drop those in the comments. But the main part of it is I wasn't allowing my program to spend all of the cash I had for any individual stock. What I was saying is, if my program was saying to buy a stock, the amount of the stock that I could buy would be the amount of cash I had divided by 10 divided by the price of the stock. And that way, I could buy and hold multiple different stocks and still have cash within my Robinhood account to continue to buy later in the day. So I wasn't just like buying one huge grouping of stocks when it looked good and then selling that one huge grouping. I could own multiple different stocks in my portfolio throughout the day. So that's what allowable holdings are. It's the amount of stock that you can buy when a buy command comes in. So then we're just going to add this little functionality right here. So we have if allowable holdings is greater than 5, which means if the number of stocks that I could buy with the amount of cash I have is more than 5 of those stocks, and holdings of stock is equal to 0, meaning I'm currently not holding any of that stock, then we're going to print out trying to buy the stock at whatever the price is. So what this is saying is if the amount that I could buy is greater than 5, and you can change this number to whatever you want, that's obviously customizable, and I'm not currently holding any of the stock, that way if the stock stays at a good price, I won't just continuously buy that same stock. It'll buy a chunk of that stock and then hold it until it's at a price where it sells. Then we're going to print out trying to buy the stock. So that's our dummy buy set. And then we're going to do our dummy sell set. Okay. So we have elif, so if it's not buy, if it is sell, and our holdings for the stock are greater than 0, so we actually have some stock in our portfolio, then we're going to try and sell it. And it's going to print out that same thing with the stock's ticker symbol and the stock's price. And that should wrap it up for now. So let's run it so you guys can see. So here we have our stocks. We have INPX and CNET. We're printing out our holdings, which is 1 share of INPX and 0 shares of CNET. We have INPX is a buy, and CNET is also a buy, and we have trying to buy CNET. Now you guys might be looking at this and say, hold on, INPX is a buy. Why is the program not trying to buy INPX? And that's because of this little part right here. Because I already own a little bit of INPX, I own 1 share, it's not going to let me buy more. If I own 0 shares, then it would try to buy some INPX. So let's close this down, and let's just do one more quick review before we end this video. So we had our original set for this trader file. We added get cash, which was a function that got the amount of cash that we had in our profile on Robinhood. And we added get holdings and bought price, which gives us the amount of stock that we're currently holding, as well as what the price was that we bought it for. Then, in the main loop of our file, we added cash and equity from the get cash function, and we also added holdings and bought price from the get holdings and bought price function. We then added a dummy trade and a dummy sell functionality into our main loop. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. In the next video, we're going to actually add buy and sell commands to actually sell and buy on the live market. So look out for that video. If you guys have any questions, drop that in the comment section. Otherwise, thanks and subscribe.